Very soon I am releasing an album in which I talk a lot about things that might not make a lot of sense unless I explain them in a video, and I've been wanting to for a long time, but I've been putting it off. And I have a guitar in my hands purely because I'm nervous about talking about it, but I finally found a framework that explains my psychosis in a way that I can finally work with and understand, and it's kind of a big deal. I am plural, and gosh, I want to talk about it, and I think the start of this I remember I figured out I was trans. I needed to build the strength to leave home, and I realized I wouldn't have any support from my family if I'm trans, and I need to figure that out. And there was this moment, I had this tarot deck, and there was this blue woman on the deck. Oh wait, let me get it actually, because I want to show. Yeah, there's this blue woman that shows up on a lot of the cards, and I was looking at this card, and I was like, man, she looks like she would say, my name's Cassandra, and no one can fuck with me, and I'm just too high class for everybody, and blah 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 blah. And I didn't think much of it. I was just by myself, and then I started thinking about, oh shit, like I have to face like potentially homelessness, definitely running away from home, figuring things out on my own if I'm gonna live a life where I can be authentic to myself. And this blue woman, I saw her in my mind's eye. I didn't understand where she came from. I didn't have any memory of this. And she was like holding me. And I was really confused, but I was like, okay, whatever, that's cool. And maybe like a couple weeks later, I was sitting on my parents' back patio, and I see her in my mind's eye just behind me on the couch. I'm like, cause I'm like laying sideways across it, and I see her like behind me, and I'm like, hi, I'm Cassie. Or no, I said my old name. This was before I had transitioned. Anyways. She said her name was Cassandra, and I didn't have any memory of her inception. I pointed to the window to my bedroom. I was like, that's where I live. And she's like, that's where I live too. And I was like, oh yeah, I my chore is that I have to do the dishes. And she was like, me too. And I was really confused. And I had, at the time, I was kind of getting voices here and there, and I was like, if I roll dice and then I like think about the numbers, the voices will tell me what the numbers mean, and that's how I communicate with them. And so at the time, the only framework I had was that these were like spirit guides, and I was like, hey, dice, what is this? Is this like a past life? And they were like, no. And I was like, is this like my soulmate from like outer space or something? Like, what is this? And they were like, no, this is you. And I was confused. Didn't have any framework that explained it. So then I am in college, not too long after this, and I've just assumed that this was like my higher self off in space. When I die between incarnations, I'm reunited with this part of my soul or something, and I just created this massive new agey spiritual worldview to explain it, because that's all I had access to at the time. I went to college, and I had this. I went over to my computer, and there was a story that I did not remember writing. A long sci-fi story, and it was in my documents as if I had written it, and I didn't remember how that got there at all. I'd never seen it before. I was reading it. I was like, whoa, this is wild and really interesting. And I was like, oh, I must have downloaded it by mistake or something, or I don't know. That's weird. But that's cool. And at that time, there was this childhood character that I had created. I made this world that I would kind of dream into and escape into. And I had this character that I would play as Taurus, I don't know. And I'd go be Taurus, and I'd be on another planet, and there'd be all these people I'd interact with, and I'd go on adventures. Anyways, the image of that world and all the lore and all the places and people there was like burning itself into my mind when I was in college. It was like, hey, this is really important, and this is like really a thing that is relevant now. And I was like so confused. And I was like, what does this mean? I don't know. I don't understand. So I like look it up online, and I read all this stuff about star seeds, and I can tell most of it's garbage, but I'm like, this is telling me, there's this voice in my head that's like, hey Cassie, this is really important, and this other planet that you have this escapism reality on, and this character that you would play as, it's suddenly really important. So it's like, all I can figure is this is like a past life or something, right? So I'm like, I was a starseed, but most starseeds have this bullshit nonsense that inflates their ego that they can't justify or back up with words or memories of their own. And I have all this, and I try to find other people that have memories of living on the same past life planet, and I can't find anything. But forever that's the only framework I have, and so I'm just like, okay, that's real. And I think that I have spirit guides, and I start seeing auras around people's bodies, not understanding that is my synesthesia and parts of me that I don't know. Still don't really understand my synesthesia, but it comes and goes, especially when I dissociate. And yeah, I don't know. I started buying into stuff about QAnon and stuff about like anti-vax and stuff like that, and it's like all the people that are talking about that kind of stuff believe in like auras and past lives and spirit guides and stuff. So I'm like, I follow their logic, and I'm like, yeah, like nobody else lives in this world that I live in. I'm gonna start reading about, I don't know. I lived like that for a few years. I was just in a van, just kind of trying to understand the spiritual world, following astrology so intently, because all the signs that I had was pointing me in that direction, and I grew up religiously, so all I knew was to have a religious framework that justifies the things that you want to be true, and no evidence that there is some scientific explanation for seeing a blue woman outside of your body that occasionally comes out of nowhere and gives you advice. And there became a point when living like that with no friends in a van, total social isolation. I had driven to the other side of the country, and part of it I was developing delusions. Like I thought I was getting prophetic dreams about the future and things like that, and I think a lot of that comes from social isolation. Crippling social isolation can make somebody delusional, and but that's a story for another time, I think. there became a point when it clicked in my mind. I was getting, I would get these occasional episodes of physical symptoms of my body getting really tingly, and my sense of touch being really confused, and not it make my proprioception kind of going away. So like I'd move my limb and I couldn't tell where I had moved it to, and my vision was clouded by colorful synesthesia clouds, and I couldn't see. And I'd get these episodes every once in a while, and I had one friend who was like a psychic tarot reader, probably also schizophrenic or something, but she was like, "Oh, this is a wonderful gift from angels that are visiting your body," and I was like, that's a really nice thought. If they're angels, I should be able to ask them to please stop making my body feel this way, and I did. I tried to ask. The episode continued, and that was really scary. And I told my doctor, and she was like, these are all the symptoms of MS, a lot of the physical symptoms I was experiencing. And I was like, that's very life-threatening and serious and scary, and if I have been neglecting it for all this time, years of occasionally getting these episodes, and also I kind of was factoring into my processing that my framework was making people that I interacted with think I was delusional and not wanting to talk to me anymore. And I just was like, I need to stop. I need to completely stop using this spiritual worldview to explain my reality. And that was really good because it helped me not spiritually bypass things that I experience, and not just constantly hope for, the stars will bring into alignment the perfect thing. Like I need a thing, I'll get it for myself. But at the same time, there was my framework, my scientific framework, my solid real world framework that I started to use, completely neglected these spirit guides that I had, these other voices in my head. Yeah, I was like, all the voices, shut up, you're not real. And I lived like that for like a few years, just not thinking about. Well, I did realize inner child work was important, so it was Cassandra, all the parts that make up us. At the time, we were aware of only Cassandra, the blue woman that became us, and a younger part whose name I won't mention because I don't really know how personal I want to get into the inner workings of my mind, but I just saw that younger part as my inner child, and but then all the other parts that made us up, I was totally suppressing. Yeah, and then I just would be surrounded by spiritual people, and I was like, God, that's something I don't want a road I don't want to go down. And I don't know, I didn't have a framework for this until maybe like a year and a half ago. Somebody I was dating was also dating this girl who had alters and had dissociative identity disorder, and that was the first person that I had met who had that. And I started to see myself in her in a lot of ways, and I was like questioning it, and I started bringing it up to her. I was like, hey, like I experienced this and this, and she's like, no, nah, not the same thing. And I was like totally shut down. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not having blackout, loss of time, amnesia, and my thing is probably something else. It's probably internal family system work, or I don't know. I just shut it out for a long time, and didn't think about it I had another friend who said that she was plural. I hadn't met any of her parts, and, well, she consciously, but she told me about like how she had worked on that in the past and how it's somewhat relevant now, but she's just mostly private about it. But she told me there's a way that I could figure out if I was plural. And I didn't have the word plural at the time. I only really learned about that recently when somebody else used it. But this girl, she was like, okay, do you have a place in your mind where all of your parts meet? Like, do you have a place in your mind that you can go that feels like if there were others, they would probably all meet there or communicate there, or I don't know. And I was like, yeah, I have that place. It's this meadow with a tree in it, and she's like, okay, like sit down, make yourself really relaxed, think about that place. And it was almost like a guided meditation, and I thought about that place, and she was like, is there anybody there? And I saw somebody who I'd never seen before. And I said, yeah, there's somebody here. She's like, describe them. So I start thinking about their features, and I start seeing them come into focus more and more. And they're getting closer and closer, like zoomed in, and then as I'm starting to describe their features, I feel the sensation that I've never felt before, and at least that I don't remember feeling before, where I'm getting pushed out of consciousness. I'm like being put to sleep, and I feel them taking over, and I don't know them at all. I've never met them. I can sense that they're really angry. At least that's what I was worried. I at least had a fear they were very angry. And I was terrified. And I was like, all I've ever known about dissociative identity disorder and the like from media is like that one show You, where there's a serial murderer who has dissociative identity disorder, and then there was another show about somebody who murders people. I think it was an episode of Sherlock Holmes, but not the British one, the one where he's like in New York. Anyways, I'm terrified, so I jerk my body forward, and that pulls me back into my body, and I just feel their presence just totally sink back into my mind, and I'm panting, and I'm catching my breath, and I'm so scared, and my friend just holds me, and she told me that maybe they're mad because they don't ever get to come out, and I thought, yeah, I could definitely see that. But it was so scary that I just did not want to think about it for a really long time. And I had that memory. It's like when you grow up in this, there's like a hill outside of your house, and you never climb over the hill, and you don't know what's on the other side of it. And one day you're curious, and you climb up, and you look over, you peer over, and there's aliens. And you're like, holy shit! And you don't know anything about aliens, and you're scared, and you run back away. And you're like, there's fucking aliens. What the fuck? And you're like, I have to learn about these aliens. But then you're like, but they're fucking aliens. I don't know anything about aliens. And that's scary too. And that's kind of where I'm at. Anyways, I will return to this. Because there's more to say. But I just kind of sat not thinking about it for the longest time until like December of December is, I'm really bad at months, but like this past Christmas around, and I met a plural person who I know from the internet vaguely. And I was texting about meeting up with her or something, because I just moved to the same city, and like we both make art online, so that's how we know each other, and or music, and yeah, one of her alters texted me, like one of their alters, and then another alter texted me like a week later or something and was like, oh, I'm so and so, but like I have all the same memories as who you talked to before, so like I know you and stuff. And it was like, whoa, wait, you can, that's a thing that like people, systems of alters can share memories. And I thought a lot more critically about what I was experiencing around the time my housemate passed away, just as I moved into this house. And I was stressed, and as a result I was like age regressing, and I was also like, oh, I feel like a boy, or I feel like I don't know, like I was switching, and it became very obvious, and I was like, there's something going on. And then I have somebody who's has this in themselves and a really deep understanding of it, and was like, oh yeah, you can share memories, it's not like you have to black out in between ego states for this to be valid or real. And that was kind of mind-blowing for me. And I was like, oh shit, I think this is probably, so I just started deep diving and learning about it online. I was like, yes, this is definitely my experience. And then a part of me, a younger part of me, fronted and was like, hey, remember when we were homeless and lived in this car 4 years ago? And we were watching videos all about this on the internet, and we were already like learning about it before. And I was like, no, I don't remember that. But amnesia is a really big part of this, and it's like, it kind of hides itself where you don't expect it. And since it's probably been, how long, like 6 months or 7 months maybe since I've become aware of this. I've been learning a lot about myself and a lot about my different various parts. And I've been trying to understand how this relates to my previous religious psychosis and spiritual psychosis, and I've been trying to just let myself be like when I'm a younger part, or a feminine part, or masculine part, just let myself be those things, and process through shame. I've been noticing a lot of shame around in being inconsistent. I was taking voice training for like lessons with this speech pathologist every week for a while, and around the time I was figuring this out, and I noticed that like every week I was going in with like a different voice goal. Like, I want to sound like this. Like, sometimes I want to sound more high pitched. Sometimes I want to sound very feminine and low pitched. Sometimes I'm really confused on like, why do I want this, and how do I make my voice sound more masculine and more this way and whatever. So I've been trying to just let myself be all these different things, and I'm trying to also surround myself with other folks who get it and can, like, I can just be these different versions of myself around, and all those parts of me be seen as their own individual people, because I know that that's what they need. But it's hard to explain that to people that don't get it. Like, people will see it as like a symptom of like, oh, now you go by this name and you have these different attributes. That's not the real you, or that's like a symptom of this. That's, I feel like, a very common understanding that people have of plurality, or having multiple identities. And I'm editing, and I realized I never circled back to the thing that I said that I would circle back to. But basically there was this other part of me that this is the only time that I've I am aware of that I've completely blacked out, or nearly completely blacked out, and had another part take over, and I'm still looking at that. And I found a therapist who specializes in plurality and dissociative disorders and things like that. And I told her about this, and she said that we can explore that, but she was like, there is a chance that this might actually be a part of you that still lives in like a traumatic experience that you had, and might be like a really scary part to work with potentially. And so she's like, what we need to do together is like help you develop skills to process trauma and ground in a very concrete way, and then we will be able to dive back into, okay, what was that experience, who was that, and I will be able to explore that, and I feel very excited at the prospect of reuniting with this part of me that might be in survival mode, or might just be completely separate from me for reasons I don't yet understand. But yeah, I don't know. It's exciting to work on this kind of stuff, and it's really exciting learning things about yourself or your system of alters that share a body with you. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Anyways, I just needed to get this. I think I've said all the things I need to say. I don't know how to wrap this up, but thanks for listening. And I made a lot of art that is kind of talking about the relationship between my various parts and processing spiritual psychosis and trying to get over shame. And that is this album called Hat that I am releasing in a couple weeks. Yep. Thanks. Bye.